I'm Neil Wardle for Kit Guru, and this is the official Fnatic gaming PC from PcSpecialist here in the UK. This PC is going to be used by Fnatic in their gaming stream, so it's going to get plenty of publicity. It's going to broadcast this name far and wide. Also, this PC is going to be on sale in PC World, which is a chain of stores here in the UK that sell computing hardware among other things. PC World already sells PcSpecialist PCs. That's a bad sentence. So this is another PC in that current range. The hardware in this PC is AMD themed, both in terms of processor and graphics, although I noted that when I visited PcSpecialist's website to use their configurator, the base configuration is actually a very junior NVIDIA graphics card. Surprised to see that. Anyway, the spec of this particular PC, which is priced at £1,599, is an AMD Ryzen 7 3700X. The CPU cooler is PcSpecialist's own 120mm Frostflow RGB unit, which is mounted at the rear. Motherboard is an Asus ROG Strix B450F gaming, so yes, it's a 400 series chipset, and this is a 3000 series processor, so that combination means no PCI Express Gen 4. On the other hand, we don't have to have the rackety cooling system that you usually get on an X570 chipset. Swings and roundabouts, I'd say. Graphics card. This is one area where the question mark is already raised. It's a reference AMD Radeon RX 5700 XT, 8GB. I like the styling of this graphics card and its cooler. However, both Dominic and myself found in our testing of RX 5700, Dominic's done a lot more than me, that we both found this to be pretty much the worst cooler on the market. The partner cards and likes of Sapphire and Asus tend to be significantly better. The PCB, the performance is fine, it's the cooler that's the problem. So you either have to ramp up fan speed or slow down clock speed or suffer high temperatures, or one of those bad things. We had a word with PcSpecialist about this. They said they keep the spec of their systems under review. They might update the graphics card at some point, perhaps to an Asus, but for now it's the reference graphics card that we're talking about. Memory, 16GB of Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro, that's DDR4 3200. The case is a Corsair Crystal 465X. Power supply is a Corsair 650W TXM, that's 80 plus gold rated. We like gold power supplies, or titanium or platinum. Less than gold, not so good. The case has 3 Corsair LL120 fans as stock, and PcSpecialist has added 3 more fans, so there are 6 in total. 3 at the front, 2 on the roof, 1 at the rear on that all-in-one cooler. The RGB for all those various components is controlled by Corsair's iQ software. The SSD is a 500GB Samsung 970 EVO, and for bulk storage we've got a 2TB Seagate Barracuda 7200 RPM hard drive. So the hardware is all looking perfectly decent. We're going to take a look at performance, noise levels and build quality. Gaming performance is exactly as good as you'd expect, which is to say good. 1080p, no trouble whatsoever. In our games we test at very high image quality settings, and 1080p it storms along at least 60 frames a second at all times. 1440p gaming, also very good. Looking down the figures, we just on occasion touch 38 frames a second in Middle-earth Shadow of War as a minimum frame rate, but generally speaking you're around the 60 at 1440p as well. Again, drop image quality, 1440p is a really good gaming experience. 4K, it's doable. I mean, it's not to be on the wit of man, but for competitive gaming you want to avoid 4K, but I think we knew that going into this with the 5700 XT. So 1080p certainly, 1440 sure, 4K no, not so much. It is worth pointing out I updated graphics drivers before I ran my benchmarks, and yes, I am aware there's been some recent furore about AMD graphics drivers. All I can say here is I had no problems whatsoever with the 5700 XT during the testing, and I had a word with Dominic. He too has had no problems. Going back to when I reviewed the Sapphire 5700 XT, that worked absolutely fine as well. Clearly when you overclock a graphics card and you're pushing the limits, you expect the occasional problem, but in everyday use I expect 0 problems. I personally have had no problems with these graphics. Dominic has had no problems with the graphics that he has tested. That's not to say other people haven't had problems, but we have not. To recap, the 5700 XT graphics combined with the 8-core Ryzen 7 3700X, yup, it hauls along really nicely. Temperature testing. Ambient is 21 degrees. The CPU temp at the moment is 34, 35 degrees. GPU temperature is 30 degrees. We've got the TimeSpy stress test running. It's windowed so I can drag it to one side and we can keep an eye on temperatures. GPU temperature, hotspot 76, still not entirely sure what that is. 62 degrees for the GPU at the moment. CPU temp 43. You can see that most of the work's been done by the graphics card. GPU load is very high, 99%. However, the CPU package is only 40 watts. The CPU is barely ticking over, so the temp remains nice and low. We're looking here at graphics temp, which is now 72, 73. The test has been running for a good long while, and we now see the GPU temperature has leveled out at 80, 81. Interesting to note the hotspot figure, this slightly curious figure, is 96 Celsius. The point about TimeSpy is that it is more or less a gaming test. We're now going to do a completely synthetic test in Ada 64. We're going to stress both CPU and graphics. Counters are reset. And go. CPU package power is now 90 watts, just as you'd expect to see. Temperature heading north of 75. GPU temp climbing back up above 70. The stress test has been running a while. GPU temperature settled at 81, 82. CPU temperature has settled around 79. That's a couple of degrees warmer than I measured during my official testing. And the ambient temperature is actually 3 degrees warmer than it was during my testing. The fan noise you could hear during the thermal testing was coming in through my lav mic. I've now switched over to this handheld mic, so let's see what the PC sounds like. This is just idling away, it's fairly quiet at the moment, so from the rear. And the side. And the front. It's audible, but there's nothing to complain about. And now let's have Ada 64 kick off. Both CPU and GPU, and we'll go to the side. Fans are whooshing along, but it's not excessively noisy. Go above. And now it's getting quite rackety. Go to the rear. But for me, most of the noise is coming from the roof. The air cooling is quite effective, but it's certainly quite noisy. I'm going to finish by having a look inside the PC to check over build quality. 4 thumb screws to remove the glass. Four more to get inside the front panel. Off with the front dust filter. The main compartment looks tidy. The all-in-one going to the rear means the hoses loop around in front of the graphics card, which isn't a problem but might offend some people's eyes. Cabling is just the standard Corsair power supply. Front panel cables go through this grommet into the floor of the case. I note there is an add-in beeper I must confess I haven't heard this PC beep at all while I've been reviewing it. It might have been doing it and I may have simply been unaware. But the main compartment is all perfectly tidy. One thing to note that I haven't mentioned so far is there is an add-in PCI Express Wi-Fi card. The motherboard doesn't have Wi-Fi, so PcSpecialist has added Wi-Fi. It seems to me to be a very cheap card. It's 802.11n rather than AC. It functions, that's pretty much all you can say about it. Off with the back panel. Here we have the Corsair RGB hub that's managing all 6 of the fans. Cabling is secured and tied down. When the PC was built, the ends of the cable ties have been cut off, but they're not flush, so there are actually some slightly sharp edges there. Power supply is tidy. There's absolutely nothing to complain about. We've got empty SSD bays there. One of the hard drive bays has been used for that 2 terabyte, leaving us one more caddy below. That's all fine. So there's room for expansion. It's neatly built. When it comes to my notes on the build quality, it's absolutely fine. Very neat and tidy. There's room for upgrades. The components are all decent quality. The only minor gripe I've got, and it's that small, is the tails on the cable ties leave some slightly sharp edges. So what do I think of the PcSpecialist Fnatic official PC? It's a funny thing. Generally, when we're totting up how much components cost and then saying the PC cost this much and therefore you could build it yourself, in this instance it's crystal clear that's exactly correct. You could buy all of these components off the shelf. They're all named parts, build your own PC, job done. I've built for Kit Guru and I've been reviewing cases PCs very similar to this a number of times. It actually brings home to me that companies like PcSpecialist suffer very slightly because they have to do the whole BIOS updates, driver updates and so on and so forth. And then new drivers come along, new versions of Corsair iQ and such like. And of course, the end user, the customer who's paid £1,600 for their PC, is going to change things. Inevitably, it's the way of the world. We enthusiasts, we're used to that. The idea of someone buying a PC and then updating software and so on, it leaves me slightly scared, and yet it's inevitable. By contrast, if you bought yourself a Dell or an HP or a Lenovo or whatever, very often you can't update drivers yourself because you require the official driver from Dell or whoever. They often have utilities that will manage updates, a bit like MSI's and Asus, I think, a bit like those utilities that check current versions and then update anything that requires an update. In this instance, this PC is a collection of components, but they're all proper components. Therefore, the 3-year warranty that you get with this PC is worth something. If you build this PC yourself, you're pretty much on your own. If you buy this PC from PcSpecialist and you hit problems, well, there's someone at the end of the phone who can take your call and either try and help you out or fix the problem or swap out the parts. So that's worth having. At the personal level, I have no interest in having Fnatic's logo on my PC, none whatsoever. Or a football team, or a MotoGP team, or whatever. It just doesn't enter my thinking whatsoever. I know for a fact many people do. When I visited Overclockers, they had a number of PCs they were building and the colour schemes were football colour schemes. So this is clearly a thing. It's just not my thing. So accepting that, what I like about the Fnatic PC is that there is a trend towards PC gaming away from consoles, because the current crop of consoles are very old now, and both PUBG and Fortnite have driven young gamers towards proper PCs. I applaud that. If those young gamers who are considering building themselves a PC for about £1,000, and I can think of 2 teenagers in local to me who are doing exactly that. If they can stretch it a bit further and go towards £1,600 and buy this PC off the shelf, they'll get a PC that does what they want. That's really good news for PC gaming. Personally, the Fnatic side of this PC, it does nothing for me, but the fact that it shows a trend towards a named, branded PC, well, yes, this is very good news. And in that sense, I applaud PcSpecialist. This particular PC, it does the job, it looks the part. I'm not mad keen on the graphics card, the particular model of graphics card, but overall, yes. And the takeaway from that shilly-shallying on my part is it's a warm thumbs up. It's an 8 out of 10. It's a recommended. If you know someone that wants a gaming PC and they buy this, they are not going to be disappointed, and you won't get in trouble for recommending it. And that's welcome. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit the bell button, subscribe. I'm Neil Woodard for Kit Guru. This is the PcSpecialist official Fnatic gaming PC.